Caitlin Clark argue with Stephanie White. Caitlin trying to communicate with the team. Look, now Stephanie White's talking to Caitlin. And Caitlin Clark just said like this. Stephanie, what are you talking? She's like, Caitlin just... And then look at Stephanie White and her having a dispute. Another dispute on camera. Going to Stephanie White, trying to hear her out. And Caitlin's trying to explain to Stephanie White. Stephanie White with a rebuttal. I'm talking about right here. Right here. Stephanie White, how about you go right there? How about you go right there, please? I'm tired of the back and forth. Every time Caitlin says A, you say B. How about you? Yeah, Caitlin, let's try A. For God's sake, I've never seen you agree with Caitlin Clark on camera. My girl?
What's going on, basketball world? Something just leaked out of Indianapolis that you have to see to believe. A short clip of sideline footage hit the internet, and within minutes, the whole basketball community was tearing it apart frame by frame. In that clip, you can see Caitlin Clark, the most talked about player in the entire sport, standing inches away from her own head coach, Stephanie White, and the two of them are clearly not on the same page. Hands are up, voices are tense. Body language is sharp, and the rumor flying around right now is even wilder than the footage itself. Whispers are coming out that the head coach wants her superstar disciplined behind closed doors for daring to push back in public. So sit tight, because the corporate honeymoon in Indiana is officially over, and we are about to break down every single layer of this unfolding mess. Before we go any deeper, do me a quick favor. If you want the real, unfiltered breakdowns that the mainstream sports networks are too scared to touch, tap that like button right now and hit subscribe so you do not miss a single piece of this story as it develops. We move fast around here, and trust me, this one is only getting bigger. Alright, let's start with the footage itself, because the video tells a story that no press conference spin can cover up. In the clip, the Indiana Fever are in the middle of a tense moment, and Caitlin Clark is trying to communicate something to her coaching staff. You can see her gesturing, explaining, pointing at the floor. And every single time she speaks, Stephanie White cuts in with a rebuttal. Every time Caitlin says one thing, the coach responds with the opposite. It is not coaching. It is not adjustment. It looks like two people who fundamentally do not agree on how this team should be played. And the kicker is this. The clip ends with Caitlin throwing her hands up and walking off, looking absolutely fed up. Now, in a normal organization, a moment like this gets handled in the locker room and never sees daylight. But this clip leaked. Someone wanted the public to see it. And once the basketball world got a hold of it, the floodgates opened. What makes this leak so explosive is the context behind it. This is not the first time fans have accused the head coach of treating her franchise player differently than the rest of the roster. Just a few games before this incident, Caitlin Clark put up a monster stat line. We are talking 32 points, 7 made threes, and 8 assists. A performance that, for almost any other player in the league, would have triggered non-stop praise from her own coaching staff. Instead, when the head coach stepped up to the microphone afterward, she barely acknowledged the individual brilliance. She credited the team. She credited the system. She talked about getting 1% better every day. She used phrases like keeping 5 people on a string, but she would not give her star player the spotlight she earned. And this is where fans started connecting the dots, because it is not a one-time thing. It is a pattern. When veteran role players have a solid night, the praise is loud and personal. When Caitlin has a historic night, the praise gets watered down into team speak. Fans noticed, the internet noticed, and now, with this leaked sideline clip, that pattern just got 1,000 times louder. But the story does not stop at vibes and body language. The numbers are where things get truly damning. Take the recent matchup that fans keep pointing to as the breaking point. In the first half of that game, when Caitlin Clark was allowed to play her natural style, pushing the pace, pulling from deep, attacking in transition, the Fever were a plus 11 on the floor. That is dominant basketball. That is the team firing on every cylinder. Then came the second half. The coaching staff tightened the leash. The pace slowed to a crawl. The offense devolved into perimeter passing with the shot clock bleeding down. And the result, the team got outscored and finished the half flat. The data is not subtle. When Caitlin plays free, this team wins. When the system clamps down on her, this team stalls. And yet, somehow, the coaching staff keeps doubling down on the slower approach. You do not have to be a basketball genius to see what is going on here. The fans certainly are not missing it. And what came next is where this story really started to spiral. Let's talk about the actual basketball philosophy at the center of this entire mess, because this is the real engine driving the conflict. Caitlin Clark did not become a generational talent by accident. She rewrote the rulebook on how guards play offense. She weaponized pull-up threes from 30-plus feet. She turned the pick and roll into a full-court chess match. She pushes pace, makes reads at warp speed, and bends defenses into shapes they have never had to deal with before. That is the player. That is the brand. That is what filled arenas and broke television ratings records across the entire sport. So what is the head coach doing? Multiple analysts have come out and pointed out that the system being run looks like a throwback to the late 90s. Slow, perimeter-heavy, motion offense with the ball moving side to side while the clock ticks down. It is a structurally sound system for a different era. But for a player like Caitlin Clark, it is the equivalent of asking a Formula One driver to keep it at 35 in a school zone. The waste of talent is staggering, and every time Caitlin tries to take an early shot clock 3 or fire a full-court outlet pass, you can catch the head coach on the sideline cameras, arms crossed, head shaking, visibly displeased. This is not strategic disagreement. This is a coach who fundamentally does not want to coach the player she has been given. And here is where it gets even more interesting. Stephanie White is not some random coaching hire. She has deep history with the Indiana Fever organization. She has personal ties to the franchise that go back years. And a lot of voices in the basketball community are now openly asking whether she took this job because she genuinely wanted to unlock the most exciting young player in the sport, or whether she took it because of nostalgia and a desire to step back into a familiar building. That is a brutal question to ask, but it is the question the fan base is asking right now. Because when your decisions consistently work against your best player, people start looking for the why behind it. And the most popular theory out there is that the coach sees the player's cultural reach and athletic impact as something that overshadows her own legacy, and that, consciously or not, she is coaching in a way that keeps the star contained rather than unleashed. Whether you buy that theory or not, the on-court evidence is making it harder and harder to dismiss. Hold on, though, because the press conference moments deserve their own deep dive. After that recent game, a reporter asked the head coach a very specific question. Which part of Caitlin's game looked the most fully recovered? A simple, direct question that any coach should be able to answer with enthusiasm. The response was telling. The coach focused almost entirely on physical traits. She talked about Caitlin's burst. She mentioned it multiple times. Burst off the dribble, burst on her jump shot lift, burst in her movement patterns. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a compliment, but listen carefully to what is missing. There was no mention of her court vision, no mention of her processing speed, no mention of her elite passing instincts or her shooting touch. The praise was reduced to athletic attributes, as if the player in question is just a fast runner who happens to play basketball. For a player whose entire identity is built on basketball IQ and skill, having that erased from the praise is more than just an oversight. It is a quiet form of minimization, and the fans noticed immediately. The clips of that press conference racked up millions of views, with people pointing out exactly what was being left unsaid. Another reporter pressed the coach on the rotation chaos. They pointed out that the starting lineup has changed in nearly every single game so far this season. They asked about the decision to insert a new player into the starting unit. The response was a word salad about needing more time, needing more reps, trying to figure out what combinations work. Multiple games into the schedule, and the staff is still admitting they have not figured out the basics. That is not a confidence-inspiring answer. That is a coach who sounds like she is already building a defense for why the season might go off the rails. The reporters caught it, the fans caught it, and the whispers about job security started getting louder by the hour. And while all of this was unfolding in the media room, something even bigger was brewing online. A fan-led movement has been gaining serious momentum across social media, and it has one simple message. They want the coaching staff replaced immediately. This is not a small group of trolls. This is thousands of fans, including longtime supporters of the franchise, organizing around a single demand. Some of the most viral posts have come from analysts who have been studying the team's tape frame by frame, breaking down possessions, highlighting moments where the coaching decisions actively worked against the star player. One post that went viral basically said that if you support the current coaching methods, you cannot also claim to be a fan of Caitlin Clark. The lines are being drawn. The fan base is splitting. And right in the middle of all this, the leaked sideline footage hit. You could not have scripted a more perfectly timed bombshell. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. Captions screaming from management to clean house. Frame-by-frame breakdowns going viral on every platform. And in the middle of it all, a quiet but growing belief that the player herself has finally had enough. Now, here's where the fan reaction got really interesting. Not everyone agreed on how the leaked footage should be received. A faction of more traditional fans started panicking, asking for the clip to be deleted. Their reasoning was that the footage made the star player look bad. That would paint her as uncoachable. That would damage her image. But the louder voices online pushed back hard. They argued that the clip should stay up because it captures the exact moment the player stopped accepting a system that was holding her back. They argued that a generational talent has every right to push back when she sees her own coaching staff making decisions that hurt the team. And honestly, looking at the evidence, it is hard to disagree. This is not a player who has been disruptive her whole career. This is a player who has been remarkably composed under more public pressure than almost any athlete in recent memory. For her to finally break that composure on the sideline means something has reached a boiling point. And there's one more layer to this story that nobody is talking about loudly enough. The locker room itself appears to be feeling the pressure. When a star player and a head coach are publicly clashing, the rest of the roster gets pulled into the middle whether they want to be or not. Teammates have to choose how to respond. Veterans have to balance loyalty to the coach with loyalty to the franchise player who lifts the entire organization's profile. Younger players are left trying to figure out who to follow. Reports have hinted that the chemistry behind the scenes is not what the press releases want you to believe. Practices have reportedly been tense. Rotations keep shifting, which means nobody knows their role from one night to the next. And when a team has no role clarity, no rhythm, and no consistent leadership voice, the wheels eventually come off. We are watching that process happen in real time, in front of millions of viewers, with cameras catching every uncomfortable glance. So the question now becomes, what does the front office do about all of this? The general manager, Lynn Dunn, and executive Kelly Krauskopf are the two figures who hold the most power over what happens next. They built this roster. They made the coaching hire. And now they're being asked to make one of the hardest decisions in modern professional sports. Do you stand by the coach you hired, or do you protect the generational asset who single-handedly transformed your franchise from cultural afterthought into the most valuable property in the league? Because make no mistake, that is the choice on the table. You cannot have both for much longer. Either the coach adapts dramatically and quickly, or ownership is going to have to make a move. The leaked footage was not just a viral moment. It was a signal flare, a warning shot that the most important player in the sport is not willing to be quiet anymore. And in modern professional sports, when the superstar starts speaking up, the front office almost always has to make a choice. History is full of examples, and history almost always sides with the star. There is also a financial layer to this that cannot be ignored. The arrival of Caitlin Clark did not just boost ticket sales. It transformed the economics of the entire league. Television deals, sponsorship money, merchandise sales, road game attendance, everything. She is the engine. And when you have an engine that powerful, you build the entire vehicle around it. You do not bolt a 1990s frame onto a modern supercar and expect it to perform. Ownership knows this. The league knows this. The advertisers know this. And every game that goes by where that engine is being throttled instead of unleashed is a game where money, attention, and momentum are being left on the table. The business case for a coaching change might end up being even stronger than the basketball case. And when both arguments are pointing in the same direction, decisions tend to happen quickly. What happens over the next few weeks is going to set the tone for the entire rest of the season. If the coaching staff doubles down on the slow-paced system, expect more leaked footage. Expect more tense press conferences. Expect more fan revolt. If the staff adjusts and lets the star play her game, the team might be able to salvage things and ride that momentum deep into the year. And if ownership decides the situation has gone too far to repair, well, that is when the real fireworks start. Coaching changes in the middle of the season are rare, but they are not unheard of. And when the player at the center of the storm is the biggest name in the entire sport, the calculus changes fast. For now, the basketball world is watching with popcorn in hand. Every sideline shot is going to be studied. Every press conference word is going to be picked apart. Every rotation decision is going to be questioned. The pressure on this coaching staff is going to be relentless, and it is going to come from every direction at once. Fans, media, analysts, former players, league officials. Nobody is going to let this story die quietly. And the player at the center of it all has finally shown that she is ready to fight for the kind of basketball she wants to play. That is a powerful position to be in. And it is a position that almost always ends with the player getting what she wants in the end. Here is the bigger picture, though. This entire situation is bigger than one team, one coach, and one player. What is happening in Indianapolis is going to reshape how the whole league thinks about coaching modern superstars. The era of forcing transcendent talents to fit into outdated systems is ending. The next generation of players, raised on a faster, more creative style of basketball, are not going to accept being slowed down by coaches who refuse to evolve. The leaked footage from that sideline might end up being remembered as the moment when that shift officially began. And whether the current coaching staff survives this storm or not, the message has already been sent. The players have the power now, and they're not afraid to use it. So that is where we stand. A leaked clip that exposed a fracture. A coaching philosophy that does not match the player. A press conference pattern of quiet minimization. A fan base in open revolt. A front office facing the toughest decision of their tenure. And a generational superstar who has finally decided that enough is enough. Whatever happens next, one thing is absolutely certain. The basketball world will never look at this team the same way again. And we're going to be here for every single second of the fallout. Before you go, I need to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me exactly where you stand on this. Was the star player justified for pushing back the way she did? Or did she cross a line that should have stayed behind closed doors? Do you believe the rumors that the coach wants her disciplined privately? Or do you think the media is blowing this out of proportion? And how much longer do you think ownership can sit on their hands before they are forced to act? I read every single comment, so do not hold back. Give me the unfiltered take. And while you're down there, if this breakdown gave you anything you could not get from the mainstream networks, smash the like button, tap subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss the next deep dive. We are just getting started on this story, and trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next. Stay locked in, stay sharp, and we will see you on the next one.